So that was the focus. We had to do this. But then, of course, to get new people to join, they would see that we've been written about in the music press. So they thought, hey, this band is sort of like quite well known. So initially they thought, wow, this might be a good chance. So it was possible, like with Fudge and Clive, that was the best deal that they had at that time. No one else was playing at the Marquee or getting the press, from Kerrang or Sounds, so it looked like a really sweet deal. Yeah. They knew it's going to be hard work and like sleeping on people's floors and driving through the night in the van and all that kind of thing. But, they wanted to do music for a career. So, we were lucky we found Clive and Fudge.
People don't realize how difficult it is for bands, especially at the beginning, right? For me, I go to concert, right?
It doesn't really, the difficulty comes around again in, various ways, because the thing is, it's not like a 9-to-5 job, like when I got divorced, things were in the way that stopped me really thinking creatively. I had to deal with things that were very difficult. So I couldn't write any music or make an album. So we had no income. So sometimes it's not just kind of like one period of time and then it goes away. It's like the last 3 years as well. We've not been able to work for 3 years. But the thing is, we always say, well, we've been doing it for 45 years. We haven't starved to death yet. Something always comes up, and if you've got enough drive to keep going and a vision and a goal, you got a goal and you want to make music, you'll make it happen somehow.
Yeah, many times I go to concerts and I want to see a good show from 8 to 11 p.m. I don't care if the band have a good night's sleep or the flight was late or the band broke down, going from one city to another, or argument around the trip is very, and you will get paid, I don't know, $200 a person night or whatever. It's very difficult for many bands. And many bands, like you say, disappear. Many people say, well, the glamorous life of, I don't know, Eric Clapton or Genesis or Pink Floyd, the Led Zeppelin guy but many bands they don't even make minimum wage, and they do it because they love the music and they didn't go to school or whatever, and that's what they were born to do, I suppose. And it's very.
Yeah, but there's another aspect as well to it, is that you absolutely have to learn to be a businessman. If you don't, you won't make it work. Because, I mean, when I first took over from our manager, he basically came around with 2 boxes of bank statements, accounts, and said, "There you are." And I had to learn, how to do all the things. And it was a long, hard slog. But there's another side of me which is able to do that. I've learned. If you can't do that, then you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Unless, of course, you've got a manager. But even then, when you've got a manager, you probably won't fully ever be able to understand how the business works. So if the manager ever goes, you're left in trouble. It's best to learn the business and learn some way of how you can make an income and what you can do, and this, that, and the other. I mean, the thing is, it's got to a point now where, in many ways, only wealthy artists can tour, because people say it's like Lorelei Festival. It's a festival in Germany. You get the headliners, Steve Hackett and Nick Mason's Sauce Full of Secrets. Well, yeah, of course, those guys, are getting paid a decent fee. But just about every band underneath them is getting virtually nothing. But the ones who, are at the bottom, who will go and play those, are happy to do it because they want the exposure. Now, they can only do it if they've got money from another income source. Like, rich parents or a girlfriend who pays the bills, or they've got another job. And what you're seeing at the moment is that a lot of bands who are very active actually have no income from music, but they're putting their own music into their own money into doing it. And you're talking about huge amounts of money. I mean, I know bands that spend £40,000 on doing, they lose £40,000 on doing a tour because they want to be popular.
Well, yeah, you gotta stay home. Don't waste, quote unquote, the 40,000, or really follow your life and your dreams. And hey, 40 grand, if you're rich, they don't care. It's a lot of people. They are not. They don't have the money, so they, the COVID, right? Many people, many small bands disappear. They say we cannot tour. The only money we can make is touring. Not touring. We better go to school and forget about music and get a job.
It's a gamble, isn't it? Because if you keep trying, what I say is, look, my mantra is the same mantra as Winston Churchill: never, ever, 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 ever give up. You got to keep going, because somebody said to me once about 35 years ago. He said to me, this guy, he worked he used to press records in a record plant. He was in charge of it. And he said to me, somewhere in the world, people will want what you do. Somewhere. And I never forgot that. And, as it turned out, when we started to play more further afield, in places like France and Holland and Germany and Poland and Italy and Spain, I could start seeing that there was people who were buying our records and they did want what we did. So, I would say to people, if you really want to do music, you've got to keep going. That's all you have to do. I think Frank Zappa said that as well. He just said, you're going to get knocked back. You're going to get really bad reviews. People are going to, call you all sorts of names. I mean, I don't even read reviews or what people say anymore. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. But, you're going to get very upset by what people say, and you've just got to keep going.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. I completely agree with you. There was a 5-year gap, I think, between Masquerade and the next studio album, Not of This World. I imagine that with family thing, you were going through a divorce, was hard to put your mind to it, to write new song and messy stuff. It's always, happened to all of us, right? So it's hard to consider. But then again, after 5 years or so, you guys came back and Know This World, and then back in the game again. I was, were very good albums, so right?
Yeah. Like I said earlier, a lot of the things that happen, people have these rhythms. And some people have a different kind of rhythm. A lot of people, they go to work at 9 o'clock in the morning, they finish at 5 o'clock every day. They do that. And the problems they have, are every day, so they deal with them every day. With a lot of musicians, it's a much bigger cycle. And, when things are going well, they're usually going very well. And when they go bad, they go really bad. And so, when I was getting divorced, I couldn't really write much music or do the business side of things because I was dealing with, legal papers and divorce. It's just, it's awful. It's a terrible thing, but it's a good experience looking back. You think, well, I learned some things about people during that. I mean, everything is for a reason. Everything is a lesson. But that's the way it goes. I mean, I'm not. What else am I going to do? I'm going to think, well, okay, I've got the divorce out of the way now. Come on, let's get on with a new album. That's what I want to do. I want to make music again and write and play and keep doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. In '91, you end up you undertook one of the biggest tour you have done in Europe, right? and then you end up releasing then, and now everybody to the stage, a 2 CD and a DVD, right?
Oh, yeah.
Where in which countries were you playing? Most of the one you mentioned, Ireland, Scotland, and the UK, Germany, Italy.
Well, we've never played Ireland.
No, yeah.
I'd like to. We played Scotland quite a lot, but we went to Holland, Germany, France, Poland, Spain, Italy. They were the countries where we were starting to do very well.
Yeah, you guys, by the way, you're very popular in Latin America. You know that, and people, Argentina, Chile, Mexico. A lot of people in Latin America like prog rock.
I know.
You guys, or Camel, or Gone, or Genesis, or
when
they
we
do very well.
When we've played there, we've absolutely loved it. I mean, it's been incredible. We were going to play there a couple of years ago before the whole lockdown thing kicked in. We were lined up to come and play in Chile and Brazil. We wanted to play in Argentina, but we couldn't, for financial reasons, couldn't get that to work, unfortunately. But Latin America, for us, when we have come over there, has been phenomenal. Absolutely brilliant. I'd love to come back and play there. I really would.
Oh, absolutely. In 2009, you end up accepting the Classic Rock Society Album of the Year award for Pure. That correct?
I think so.
Yeah. You're very well, that was a big deal. I mean, you were, easy for me to say, but for struggle to record label, selling your own stuff, make a little bit of money, flying to the United States, and then some award were coming that way and another one.
It's incredibly nice to be recognized.
Yeah, to be recognized, right?
For your work, yeah. I mean, and it's always something which is very welcome, when that comes along.
Yeah. Were you, at the time Blu-ray were not around, but DVDs and band were saying, well, it's another source of income, right? So it's this vinyl at the time, obviously CD, and releasing DVDs. You end up releasing, I think, a live album called Concerto Mexico in 2008 that was filmed. And I think you guys, I don't know how many, I don't know if you saw a lot of them or not, but I have some of them. They're very, very good, actually. I was preparing question for this review. I listened to most of your stuff and some of the DVDs, and I see very good quality. Very, very good.
Yeah,
very cohesive band. Why not many people in the world like this band? You know what I mean?
There was a guy called Tommy Jabinski from Poland who, really helped us a lot with the DVDs. We made 4 or 5 DVDs with Metal Mind, the company from Poland, which was great because otherwise we wouldn't have been able to do it because making a DVD is so expensive. But they came along and said, no, we'll do everything, you pay for the lights, the recording, the editing, everything. So, it made it possible for us to do. And I was very happy to make those DVDs with Metal Mind. They were very, very good. I liked, and Tommy was a good friend of mine. He became a very good friend of mine. And, we did a lot of work together for Pendragon shows. That was great.
That's great. And then after the album Pure, the album Passion was released in 2011 and Follow Men Who Climb Mountains. More different, they were more darker, more progressive metal, if you will, right? They were different from the previous one. What was the kind of, if you don't mind, the motivation of doing things differently, right? Under a prog rock, but different flavor of different things. If you enjoy, right?
Well, I got to 2000 and after Not of This World, I thought, well, we've done sort of grandiose prog thing. I just didn't really have any more ideas in that vein, and I loved it, and I still love that kind of music. But I was doing a lot of motocross at the time with my son, and we were watching motocross videos. DVDs, and a lot of the music that was contained within these DVDs was a lot of new metal. And I thought, I really like this. This is very melodic, but it's heavy, but it's very melodic. And I thought, maybe we could incorporate some of these new and different influences in our music to try and bring something new to the table. And, so creatively, it was a lot of fun to bring in something new. And I enjoyed doing that for a while, and it just meant that there was a different flavor for a few albums, and we weren't doing the same thing over and over again. But I sort of like with Love Over Fear and North Star to go back to the old style again, because I that's what I felt like doing. I got a bit fed up with doing the heavy stuff. I wanted something that just was beautiful again, had some beauty. And I thought, well, the albums that I like, from the 70s, I'd like to maybe have something which has that kind of feel again, because so much music has become about the social standing rather than the actual songs. And I wanted it to be about the actual melody and the music. I mean, the albums that I liked, Trick of the Tail, Steve Hackett, Voyage to the Acolyte, Camel Moon Madness, Pink Floyd. And I thought, and a lot of other stuff like Neil Young, a lot Steely Dan. To me, those still are the best albums, the best sounding albums. And I wanted to make albums that had that kind of vibe.
Yeah, absolutely. The album I was listening last night to, Low Over Fear, right? This album from 2020, 3 years ago, which is unbelievable. I think I read somewhere you guys sold that album. It sold very well, right? It was the biggest grossing album ever for you guys.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes, that's right. Yes, it was very popular. I mean, what happened with a lot of albums about, say, maybe 10 years ago, is after 6 weeks they would just stop selling. The 6-week window, we used to call it. But Love Over Fear, even 3 years on, it's still selling pretty well, which is fantastic. But it really kind of hit it off with people that liked, that kind of very typical sound in the 70s, of Trick of the Tail, Moon Madness.
Ooh.
That album is perfect for those kind of listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, you released a great album, people start liking it. Okay, we should start touring. And then, boom, pandemic hit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another nightmare, So, my world, man, so difficult. You have something good to sell and to offer to the public, touring, and then the pandemic, and couldn't do it anymore.
No, it was a nightmare. Obviously, we had to come back halfway through the tour. We did a show in Poland and then just had to cancel the rest of the tour and come home. We tried to postpone it to the following year. That was still no good, and postpone it the following year after that. But, the thing is, people think, well, it's all over now, you can go back on tour. But the problem is the fallout from those 3 years has been very damaging, because what people don't realize is that you can't just get in a bus and go. It takes you 1 year to organize a tour. So you're working, organizing, flights, organizing the tour bus, organizing the crew, rehearsals, set list. You're sorting food out for people. You're talking about, all the things, accommodation while we rehearse, transport to get to. I mean, there's a million logistics to sort out. And it's just me and my wife do that. Nobody else, just me and my wife. And so, we're not doing another job while we're doing that. We're doing just that. So if you have done all that for 1 year and then the tour gets cancelled, you haven't even had the income from that tour. So that's another year where you've had no income. So the last 3 years have been phenomenally difficult to try and keep the whole thing going. We have to try and build back up to it again because, some bands, like I said before, there are some bands who didn't care whether they lose any money because they can afford to do it. So they don't care whether it gets cancelled to come home, or maybe they only play to a couple of hundred people. They don't. It doesn't matter. But the thing is, if you have a tour that's cancelled because the singer has got COVID and you're in a tour bus for 10 days, that tour bus is costing you £1,700, call it $2,000 a day.
Wow.
And it's sat in a lay-by and you're not earning anything. That ain't going to work for very long. So you have to do what we did last time, which was 3 weekends. So there was a fire break between each weekend. So if something did happen, we could rethink how we were going to go about things. And now we're looking at, doing touring again properly. I just hope that, we can make that happen.
Yeah. And at the same time, we've
really gone up. I mean, the cost of the tour bus, fuel.
Exactly right. Yeah.
It's all more expensive. But we're only being offered the same fee as we were 3 years ago. So we have to try and make this work in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we, with the pandemic, we hit recession over the world. A lot of people lost their jobs. So people you were counting on attending show, they say, man, $50, £100 to go to a gig, man, maybe I cannot, I cannot afford to do that. So, it had been very difficult for many, many families the last 3 years. Yeah. Just many people lost their job and, band disappeared with very difficult situation all over the world. But it's unbelievable. And you were, obviously a lot of people think that it's easy to be a musician, but it's very hard because in your case, you were like the tour manager, the manager. You need to be a tough boss and putting everything together. Maybe 10% is the great music. The other 90% is, paperwork, headache, organizing tours.
That's exactly right.
So you are 10% music.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. I mean, 90% of what we do regarding a concert is nothing to do with the actual music. It's to do with I mean, look, it took me a year and a half to actually find the 2 backing singers that we have who could do what we needed to do. So there was all that kind of toing and froing and could they learn the music, learning, rehearsing, finding new people, new crew people, because, they get fed up and leave. So you need that. Constantly organizing tour buses, food, accommodation. Like I said before, I always say, you're not so much a musician as you're a psychologist, you're a banker, you're a babysitter, you're a caterer, you're a hotelier, and as Fish said, you're a haberdasher, because most of what you do is selling T-shirts. There are all these things. I mean, like you get the T-shirt comes along, it's got the wrong design on it because somebody screwed up somewhere. This stuff just goes on and on and on and on. But we're kind of used to it. It's what we've always done. So, we love doing music. So this is what we have to do, and it's okay most of the time. But you do get times where it is unbelievably stressful. What they see is bands who are successful. All you ever see is the success of bands. 99% of the bands that people who like prog rock do not do this for a living. It's an illusion. Those bands like to look like they're professional musicians, but it's a hobby. I guarantee you, there are very, very, very few bands who can make a living out of music. I mean, there's me, Mick Pointer, Marillion, Fish, Stephen Wilson. They're the big ones.
Yeah.
John Young, that guy is an absolute trooper when it comes, and very few others. Very, very few. That's the reality. But when you read the magazines, you think they're all living in castles.
Drinking champagne every day and eating caviar.
Yeah, which Clive Nolan does, of course. But
some people do. Yeah, it's. What would be the advice for young people? If you were given advice to yourself, 17, 18-year-old, that want to follow the music career and prog rock in general is very difficult to make a living. On top of that, right?
Yeah, I mean,
what would you do?
My son Max wanted to get into music at one stage, and he went to college, and he was very good, actually, very good guitarist, very good on the piano, and a very good writer. He wrote some very good songs, but it wasn't really for him. But he did say he went to college for about 6 months, and I said to him, I'll tell you two things about being a musician. One thing, I'll give you some advice. One thing, don't go anywhere near progressive rock. And secondly, always be the singer of your band. Because if you're in a band where you have to get in a singer, but you're the main driving force, it'll be a nightmare. Because singers are always a pain in the neck. So always make sure that you are the singer. But my advice to young bands is that if you really want to be a musician, you've got to keep on going. You're going to get knocked back time and time and time again. You just got to, be fed up about it. I've been fed up about illegal downloading, P2P file sharing. I was really upset about that for a year. But then once that's gone, you've got to say, okay, well, now we've got to actually change something and we've got to find a way of making this work. So I would say to people, you're going to get knocked back, but you've got to keep on trying if you really want it. And you've got to have unbelievable drive and vision. You've got to have a goal. You've got to have a vision. You've got to have a way of making that work. But I'm old school. There are young guys out there who are monetizing what they're doing. They're making YouTube content. They're making YouTube videos. They're able to use the internet in different ways that I couldn't even begin to imagine. So there are new ways always coming along that younger guys can make it work.
To make a good living doing the thing that you do like. What is? Have two more questions. What's upcoming tour? You're planning something toward the end of the year, or like they do like a 3 weekend, like a weekend thing 3 days, like Marillion type, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday retreat where you don't have to go from one city to another, right?
We're hoping to do some touring next year, hopefully a European tour, maybe a couple of weeks, see how that goes. Maybe a few other things if they come along. If we get offered something, we'll try and make sure we do it. I mean, I'm starting to think about a new album now as well. So, there's that. Yeah.
What about the United States? Or is not possible? Prohibited for the cost, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, just to get visas now is about £750 each person. If you've got 13 people with the band and the crew, it's just like, who's going to pay that? It's phenomenally expensive to tour, and it's even more expensive to tour, if a promoter turned around and said, I want to do a 50-date tour of America, we'll cover all your costs for doing it, I'd say we would do it like a shot. But I'm knowledgeable enough to know that, there are not enough people to be able to financially attend the shows to make it financially viable. So it can't happen. I mean, we in South America we can, because there's a couple of promoters. They say, hey, Chile, we're going to get 500 people, and that, that were X dollars. That was, we can. We were being offered a very, very small fee to go and play in South America, but I thought, well, if we can cover the flights and it keeps things going, and so maybe a couple of weeks before and a couple of weeks after, we'll do another show somewhere, that'll help pay. That's how it worked before the pandemic. One show would pay for another.
The next one, yeah.
Like a little microclimate. This show we sold some T-shirts, so that'll help pay we played in Japan, and I had to pay for all the flights, and the guy over there who put us on, the guys from Marquee, they very kindly paid for some amazing food and the venue, and they paid for our hotels, but I had to pay for the flights. And you have to say, well, it's an investment. You go to Japan and you have this thing which is, going to consolidate your relationship with your fans.
Yeah.
That's gold. That's gold. I mean, we could go and play in Argentina and lose, maybe a few $1,000s, but it's gold, because I know we're consolidating our relationship with those people, and they'll say, hey, okay, we'll buy the next album when it comes out because we want to support you. So it's like a microclimate.
Absolutely.
Something else. It's not kind of like, go to Argentina, get paid $20,000. Yeah, great. That's not going to happen. It's going to be, well, we need to bring a few other factors in.
Yes, that's right. Absolutely, man. Feel free to elaborate on mention your YouTube channel and your website where people can buy music and support you, where the tours are going to be announced, that kind of stuff. So feel free to mention.
Oh yeah, it's www.pendragon.mu will get you to most places you want to go. Tour dates and links to the shop. The Burning Shed is the mail order.
Burning Shed,
we use for selling stuff in mail order. So that's where stuff's available.
Yeah, all right, Nick. Was very nice talking to you, man. Hopefully, I go to Europe, London for work-related stuff like 2 times a year. So hopefully, we can meet up for coffee, beer, or whatever, or wine, and now we can get nice. To that. It was very nice talking to you, man. Good luck to you, and
thank you very much.
Keep on the fight, man. Keep on fighting, keep on touring. There's a lot of people out there that really love your stuff, and me included, some of my friends. It's progressive rock, small niche, and people don't buy CDs anymore. But well, if you need to do it, meet and greet, or the 3-day weekend, or the selling T-shirts, like the fish guy will say, and it's. You need to do what you need to do to,
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, man. It was very nice talking to you, man. Take it easy, man.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
No problem.
Bye-bye.